credit cards have a way of presenting debt that makes us all believe that paying them, it's easy. But beware, not everything that shines, it's gold. If you think it's too easy, maybe there's a catch in there that you might want to look into. Let's say, for example, we have this credit card statement that you're seeing on the screen. So we have a debt of $19,210.46, and the minimum payment happens to be $192. And most people think that the way to pay off this debt is as follows. So we mentioned $19,210.46, and most people will think that they can take the debt and they will divide that by the minimum payment, and that will give you approximately 100 months. 100 months is what should take you pay off this debt of $19,210.46, making a minimum payment of $192. And when we take this 100 months and we divide that by 12, because 1 year has 12 months, this should be the equivalent of 8 years, right? Then it shouldn't be a problem, right? I will make a payment of $192 on a monthly basis, and it will take me about 8 years to finish paying off this debt. Well, my friend, let me break it down to you. This is wrong. This is not how things are done. Sorry to disappoint you, but yeah, that's not how you pay off the debt. That's not how banks will let you pay off the debt. Remember, banks are in the business of making money. If they lend you such a large sum of money, the minimum expectation that they have is the ability to make money from you. And according to the math we just did, by dividing that debt by 192, this doesn't give them any room to make money off of you in interest. The way your minimum payment is actually allocated with the bank is as follows. Let's go back once again to that 192. Let's say you make that minimum payment. And in reality, what happens behind the scene is that out of that 192 that you're paying out of pocket, only $92 is going to go towards the debt reduction, right? So that's the money that's going to go into reducing this debt that you have here. And then the remaining $100 is going to go towards interest payments. And those interest payments will go straight to the bank. Sorry to break it down to you, but that is how it works. So how does your debt really look in the end? So we're going to take this number. We have $19,210.46. And in reality, the number that we're going to deduct from the debt is $92. It's not the $192 as you thought, because remember, the $100 here, it's going to the bank. So when you minus this number from the actual debt, you are left with $19,118.46. This is still your debt. Kind of depressing, but things don't end there. The way it works is that the next month, the bank is going to come in and it's going to reassess your debt again based off of this number, assuming you didn't make any additional purchases and you didn't add anything else onto that debt. So let's assume that your interest rate is, I don't know, let me just make a number up, 24.99%. And then the way the bank is going to do the math is that they're going to charge interest based on this rate in your credit card according to this number right here. So let's say, just for example purposes, that the following month you have to pay a minimum payment of $180. So then that $180 follows the same pattern. $80 is probably going to go back to reducing your debt, and then the remaining $100 is going to go straight to interest for the bank, of course. And this cycle will repeat itself over and over again until you finally finish paying off that debt. That is the reason why it is a horrible idea to make just the minimum payment in your credit card. Not only you're giving your money away in interest rates, but it could also take you forever to finish paying it off. In fact, banks do tell you this in their very own credit card statement. Let's just take a look at it. So once again, here we have our statement. The balance on the debt is $19,210.46 with a minimum payment of $192, right? If you start scrolling down on your statement, and mind you, each bank statement will look different. This is how it looks in our sample right here. But if you were to scroll down, there's a section that you will find in your credit card statement that will tell you the breakdown of what would happen to that debt if you were to pay just the minimum payment, in this case, $192. It will take you 27 years to finish paying off that debt. That's a long time. That's basically a mortgage. And I don't know about you, but this tiny amount, it's not worth 27 years. And I know $19,000 is still a lot of money, but when you compare this much money with a mortgage of, let's say, $300,000, $350,000, this number is relatively small. And that's how long people usually take to pay off a mortgage. But in this case, taking 27 years to pay off a debt of $19,000 plus is not worth it. And things don't end there. Things actually do get a little bit worse. If you pay just the minimum payment, you will end up paying more for that debt. In fact, instead of paying $19,000 plus, you will end up paying a total of $58,105. Because remember, banks are not going to let you off the hook that easily. Remember, they need to charge you money. The banks are in the business of making money, and they will need to charge you interest. That's what happens when you start adding up compounding interest. It is the interest that they end up charging you on top of whatever it is that you're left with the debt. And that compounds time after time, month after month, and year after year, all the way until it becomes a giant ball like you see here. For those who have never heard about the subject of compounding interest, you can check this episode right here after you're done with this one, of course, to learn more about the subject. Now, back into the video. So what's the best solution? Because ideally, we will prefer to use that credit card without having to pay any interest. But life happens. Sometimes we do end up in an emergency. Maybe we don't have enough of an emergency fund. Maybe our savings were not enough to take care of that emergency. And you wind up using the next best thing available with you, which is the credit card. And now you're kind of like caught up in this vicious cycle about trying to get out of debt, but then you have a lot of interest that you have to take care of. And if you have the money in the first place, you wouldn't have to get on a credit card debt, right? So first off, what most experts will tell you is that if you have the money to pay off the credit card debt, do it. But the reality is that's unreasonable because most of us don't have all of that money sitting around. If we did, we wouldn't be using that credit card. So we try to go and make the minimum payment, but there's an extra step that you can make, and it's try making payments above the minimum payment. In fact, this is a recommendation that the banks give you in your very own credit card statement. Let's take a look at it. As you can see, this bank is actually suggesting that if possible, you can actually make payments of $766. That's way above the $192 minimum payment that you see here. If you were to make a payment of $766 every month, it will take you only 3 years to pay off that debt. That number is way better than the 8 years you see here. I much rather pay off a debt in 3 years than taking 8 years to pay it off. And things don't end there. You also significantly reduce the amount of interest that you wind up paying the bank. If you make a payment of $766 every month, you will wind up paying a total of $27,586. Is it ideal? Not so much, because obviously we will rather not pay any interest and just pay the $19,210. But the reality is that that's not how banks work. They're in the business of making money, and they need to make some type of interest. And if you have to pick between the lesser of two evils, I will obviously go with the $27,586, because that will give you a total savings of $30,519. And as you can see, even the banks themselves, they sort of have to give you solutions, right? They portray the bigger picture for you, indicating that, hey, if you pay the minimum payment, well, we will make money, but this is how it's going to look for you. But if you pay more, we can make less, which we will still take, but it will also benefit you. Now, I understand that even with $766, not everyone can afford to make that payment. Another option you can do, if you can't afford to make the $766 in this case, is to make an effort to pay above the minimum, whatever amount you can, even if it's $50. So let's say, for example, the original minimum payment is $192, right? And you can only afford to make an additional $50. That will mean you're making $242 on a monthly basis towards the reduction of that principal. And the way it looks is that now you're adding an additional $50 to this number, or an additional $50 to this number right here, which in essence is going to help you reduce this number even more. And if $50 is too little, maybe you can pay $100, even better. So make that additional payment of $100, and now you're making $292, which in essence will translate to you reducing that debt faster and paying less money in interest. That's one option. Another option, which I try to do as often as I can, is just simply taking advantage of balance transfer offers. And the practice of balance transfer consists of taking the debt from a high interest rate credit card, like for example, this one, and then just migrating that debt or transferring that debt into another credit card with a lower interest, and sometimes even at a 0% interest. That's the approach I usually take, because I rather transfer the debt, pay a small fee, but then save thousands of dollars of interest in the long run. For those who want to learn more about the practice of balance transfer, the ins and outs, the steps that you need to follow, feel free to check out this video. That way you'll save money and interest. You don't have to pay them to the bank, and you can use that money saved to build new memories or just simply invest in real estate. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.